Welcome to another episode of the Carry Trainer Higher Line podcast. Well, hey guys, welcome to yet another episode of the Carry Trainer Higher Line podcast. We've got a gentleman on today, Mr. Haidary. Did I say it right?
Nailed it.
Haidary. Mr. Haidary has got, I don't know, maybe 313 different social media accounts that he runs pertaining to good training practices for law enforcement. I don't know, you probably have like well over 1 million people following you online across different platforms, I would guess.
For sure. Yeah, it's like 1.5 in total.
Oh, yeah, but who's counting? Yeah.
Right.
1.523, et cetera. Yeah.
In 4 seconds. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, sir. Who are you? What are we going to talk about today?
Follower of Christ, husband, father of 4, and we have some animals. South Carolina native, born and raised here. Went in Florence, South Carolina, graduated barely, became a police officer here in South Carolina. 5 years on patrol, 2 years as a full-time training sergeant, left law enforcement in 2020 to initially to transfer to a different agency, but then I had a fitness company, Effective Fitness Training, and I decided to give that a go full-time. And that ended up progressing into what is now EFT, EFC, Police Post, and the whole gamut there. So that's basically in a nutshell.
Is a social media account that shares training tidbits, tips, maybe shares some hilarity or nonsensical things that get caught on body cams. And then the EFC is Combatives, which is give people the rundown. That word's kind of become a catch-all for a lot of things the last couple of years.
Indeed. Yeah, it's just, we utilize it as more of a full spectrum because in law enforcement, it's been called defensive tactics or subject control when those things are a part of the combative process as it pertains to law enforcement. But we also have to be not always on the defensive, and sometimes control can come in many different forms, being, deadly force if that situation calls for that. So the combatives word is just more of a full spectrum word for us because when we just narrow it down to defensive tactics or subject control, it just becomes, it just kind of becomes a nuance at that point.
Okay. And then the training, physical fitness stuff.
Sure. Yeah. So that was my first company that I started probably about 7 years ago now. And the premise of that was I was always into fitness. I did CrossFit, unfortunately. And
Did you say unfortunately?
Unfortunately, yes.
So you're anti-CrossFit now?
No, I'm not anti-CrossFit. If I want to be the best at fitness, I would probably do CrossFit. But my goal was to just be more well-rounded and more practical because I was under the impression of, oh, CrossFit's the best. Look at these guys. They're shredded. Not really knowing a whole lot about TRT and steroids at that time. But besides that, I was like, what am I training for? What's the And I am all about minimal effective dose. Like, what is the least amount of work I can do to have a result in some type of progression, right? And so doing snatches and doing muscle ups and those things, yeah, they're cool and maybe practical in some way, shape, or form. But for me, I didn't have 2 hours to spend in the gym all the time. The fact that my job could go from 0 to 100 relatively quickly. And if I had a super heavy leg day and I wasn't even able to walk properly, I'm not really able to do my job. If I'm training for a purpose, I need to train for a purpose. And that's kind of something that I kind of learned the hard way. And again, looking around at different programmings and things like that, I had a following at Police Post and a passion for fitness and a lot of friends who were in that space. And so getting up with them and basically writing out a business plan, it kind of goes, it actually does have a little bit of a story. When I was a full-time training sergeant, one of my tasks was to basically build a fitness program for my agency. And so I spent probably, let's just say, a year kind of, let's just call it a business plan, writing out a business plan, collecting data of how to implement this program. And when I went to go present it, it kind of got, I don't want to say denied, but definitely pushed back. And it was a little frustrating for me. So what I ended up doing was starting a business. I was like, well, hey, I have a business plan here. I have a following. Let's give it a go.
Were you tasked with doing that, or did you
I
do it
was,
on
I was by my captain, who is a phenomenal human being, and still is to this day. And when I went to go present it to him, he was like, "This is awesome." And then when he went to go present it to his chain of command, it was just kind of like, ah. And then there was some pushback there, and then of course, it's like everything else, just we'll deal with it later, and just kind of got pushed.
what was the pushback?
Great question. Usually, it's from my understanding, it was somewhat of an ego issue. There was some, I guess, butting of heads in the training unit. Some people didn't like that I was tasked with it, and they thought they should have maybe been tasked with it, or weren't aware that I was tasked with it. And then it just became this whole typical law enforcement thing where it wasn't my idea, it was your idea, you did it, but I should be doing it. I want the credit, you want the credit. And I was like, you know what, I'm good. Like, we're missing the point here, basically.
Right.
It got pretty frustrating. And again, I was 28 years old, 29 years old. So I was pretty young to be in a supervisor role anyways. So dealing with guys who had 15 to 20 years on, and this new guy comes in at 29 years old, 5 years on the, 5 years on the street, and I'm already I'm go ahead. Cause I was also motivated. Like I was driven. I wasn't a retired on duty guy. Like I was driven to improve my agency. And that was, again, that was one of the issues that kind of came up.
Okay. I've seen quite a bit of that. I was wondering what the pushback would be. I'm not a cop, never been a cop, won't be a cop, but I've got a lot of friends in that field, and I have a friend that was the elected sheriff of one of the largest counties in Illinois, helped run his campaign, in fact. And when they took over that sheriff's office, which was a bunch of great people, one of the things they wanted to do was fix some of the fitness issues. And so they put together a plan similar to what you're talking about. And the union jumped on them in like 2 seconds and was like, no, like we can't. It wasn't even like a forced thing. It was going to be a suggestion. Like, here's a nice plan. He built out a really nice gym at the sheriff's office. And it was like immediate go F yourself. Nobody's doing anything. And it was pretty weird. I remember looking at that like, wait a minute, this guy's trying to help you get more fit so that you live longer and can touch your
Weird.
toes and see your penis when you go pee without needing a mirror. Like, that
Yeah.
seems very bizarre that you'd be that angry about it.
Yeah, and what's weird is there have been cases where I know certain cops have sued certain agencies if they try to implement a PT standard. And I think it was probably because of like, well, it's I can't do it, and so if I don't have to do it, like it's almost like a not a equal opportunity employment type deal. I can't quite understand why you would not want to be in shape, regardless of any reason, regardless of your profession. I think that everybody should have some type of physical capacity about themselves. And so yeah, it's in that's really where the pushback comes from. Is I would say, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't need to do this, and it's really frustrating considering the data doesn't lie about. Let's just talk about just the health and wellness of law enforcement, right? Like the cardiac events, the obesity rate, the overweight rate is just, I mean, it's half, right? Like 40% of cops are obese. 40%. That's insane.
Where'd you pull that data from?
That was a FBI study, I believe, that was done. So
How
you can
long
Google
ago?
that. Maybe 2018, 2017,
So
2018.
not too awful long ago.
No, I
So
mean, it's still
it could
relevant.
actually be worse now post COVID, where a lot of people were doing nothing for
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. There's a few studies out there that we've pulled again. We have all this data available over at EFT, but yeah, it's like cops are 21 times more likely to die from a cardiac event than they are at the hands of a criminal. Like that right there alone is you know cause for concern, at least
Mm.
at least in my
Yeah, and
eyes.
of course, a lot of that is also due to high cortisol levels, living on little sleep, coffee, energy drinks, shit,
Yeah.
fast food, all that too,
Yeah.
right? But that just
Oh, for
bolsters your
sure.
point of being fit.
For sure. Yeah, and there's a phrase that I use all the time, and I say the biggest threat to law enforcement is law enforcement itself. It's just the profession, and the profession will fuck you up if you let it, right? And that's kind of one of those things where we have to combat that because it's a very unique job, right? Like it's a very unique job. There aren't really many jobs out there like it as it pertains to what your day can, can potentially consist of, right?
Mm.
I mean, when people call 911, I say this all the time, they're not calling you to come to a barbecue and, and have a sandwich. They're calling you to come solve a problem usually, right? And that problem can be an ambush. It could just be, hey, can't find my kid, my tire's flat. Like, it's just a wide variety of calls. I mean, there's 70 million law enforcement contacts on average every year. 70 million from the age of 16 and above, which is if you think about it,
Wow.
that's a pretty large number.
I remember as a kid, I don't know. I never was like angry at law enforcement, but nobody likes speeding.
Of
Nobody
course,
likes
man. I
speeding
skateboarded, so
tickets.
yeah.
What's that? Was that?
As I skateboarded, so
Yeah,
yeah, so running from
you
the
didn't
cops was
like.
a normal thing.
I didn't like see a cop and think like F the police. I grew up in a fairly rural community, but of course, like any interaction I had as a kid was either like his dad that was a cop. My great grandfather was a Chicago detective, so some family, or it was like riding the bikes on the sidewalks and the cop would come, harass you and have you get out of there. But I remember thinking as a kid all the time, or even having this discussion with buddies as teenagers, like, oh, these guys think they're badasses. We live out here in the middle of nowhere. Like, there's nothing, nothing bad happens. They just sit around and eat donuts all day. We just like have this ignorant narrative. And now, probably between 30 and 50% of my friends are somehow connected to law enforcement in some capacity, or I could even say just like first responders. And something that it become very clear to me is what you just said. Like it could be side of the road, flat tire, where now you're having to like dodge traffic and not get run over, or
Right.
some guys that I know from our local SWAT team just had to get involved in a suicide by cop situation where I guess, bad guy slash victim was a dude I knew from the time I was a kid. That alcohol psychosis put him in a position where he decided he needed to die, and these guys had to do the deed. Like now they get to go to bed with that, and you can justify that and say it was doing their job, but they still have to close their eyes, and that kind of stuff. I think the general public maybe doesn't think about where
No. And that sucks,
that
dude. Like you didn't stop an active shooter, right? Like there's no, let's just say there's no like real,
glory or
right. Like there's no like, and some people like to, I think here lately, the people like to romanticize like violence and they have this fantasy of what it's like. And those people have never really experienced it, or have even seen the aftermath of what another person can do to another person. Um, again, and that's kind of where when I was younger, I used to respond to a lot of comments and things like that. But now it's like, hey, it is the internet. The internet's the internet, and it's gonna just do its thing. And so,
what do
I've
you
learned
mean by
to,
that? You're saying people would comment, uh, and like give me an example of what you're
yeah,
talking.
like, they would also like, whether it's like the true Monday morning quarterback, like they wouldn't provide any value. It'd be like, oh, well, he shouldn't have done that. And it's like, okay, well, what should he have done then? Right. Or
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh man, that's so easy to do. Like, oh, or, well, I would have just done this. And it's like, yeah, would you have though? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't really know until you're in that position. And again, in training, we can only get so close, right? We can only pressure test to a certain level. And that true pressure test is going to be that real world altercation and or incident, right? And so, um, you know, I've we've kind of had to adjust approach and kind of how we deliver our content and remember who our audience is. And again, probably the majority of our followers are probably not law enforcement. So we do try to educate those that are not in law enforcement as to why cops do what they do in certain situations. Now, again, the profession is vast in discipline. So again, society does demand perfection from law enforcement. They expect you to be an expert marksman, tactician, driver, mental health professional, which cops are not, right? There's a lawyer, attorney, whatever. They expect that when they call 911, and
Mm-hmm.
they're not getting that. Now, there are some people that are super squared away, but you have to be so well rounded in this job in order to be able to adapt to the wide variety of calls that you're receiving, right? So no one's perfect. And the fact of the matter is that law enforcement isn't trained to be well-rounded. And that's what we're trying to push and make it known and say, hey, look, like you could go from just like you said, helping somebody change a flat tire to having to pull a child out of a sinking car out of a river. Like two very different situations, two very different set of skills, two different
Mhm.
very set of mindsets, right? Like, and that's kind of where, you have to be able to adapt. And again, we talked about the fitness side of things, and that's where I think it all should be. That's the foundation, right? Like that is the foundation of use of force. It's the foundation of, I think, mental capacity. And that's where I believe the biggest issue was, and that's kind of why I started doing what I was doing with the fitness stuff. Is I started with the fitness stuff, then I started realizing there were more issues, and again, seeing it firsthand, obviously, kind of gave me a roadmap of what to follow, and then finding people who are better than me in certain areas, bringing them in, and then starting a business with them. Because I have multiple owners in all of the companies, and we have 57 instructors on the combative side alone. So we have I think I did a little survey with the instructors. It's like close to 500 years of law enforcement experience in total, as it pertains to the combatives, DT, use of force side of things. So
That's cool.
yeah,
Yeah, the whole fitness thing's an interesting thing. My friend Z Durham, Green Beret, Jiu-Jitsu black
yeah, no
belt.
Z, yeah,
You know Z? Yeah,
hmm
good dude.
solid dude.
He likes to bring up the idea of most organisms want the path of least resistance. You go walk through the woods anywhere and you'll find game trails that usually are the easiest path through the forest. And you said earlier something that could be misconstrued. You were talking about um, I think something along the lines of more bang for the buck. You wanted to be able to input a little to get as much out as
Yeah, yep,
possible.
yep,
I once heard a man say, I'm always looking for the easiest way to do something. And there are some things like you can't make nice muscles easily. I mean,
correct.
you could do it simply, but you still have to like pull the weight, pick the weight up. And it seems like a lot of folks are the gun is a great example. I want to invest all this energy in shooting so I don't have to fight, or I want to invest all this energy in, uh, some other skill that can somehow shortcut fitness. And I think any time in history, it's always come back to that. You look at like the ancient Greeks and their wrestling centers, which
Sure.
was all naked, by the way.
Hell
Uh,
yeah.
like nobody ever said, I wish I was less fit. Or, man, if I was a little
Yeah.
fatter and slower, I would have done better in
I'd
the
be so much
Olympics.
better at this. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
that's so true. And so yeah, so let me clarify. So the minimal effective dose really applies to the plan, not necessarily the amount of effort or intensity that needs to be put into that, right? Like, so when I go to the gym, like I try to spend about 45 minutes tops. And within that 45 minutes, I try to not be on my phone. I try to not be distracted. And then I put in the work because I know that in 45 minutes, it's going to be intense, but it's going to be what I need in order to progress forward. Like, I mean, you're a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, right? So like, in order to get a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, because I'm the same, is like for me, I'm like I love simplistic jiu-jitsu. Yes, you can do the barambolos and all the super fancy things, and those are really cool, and those work. But for me and where I'm at personally, I like to integrate my jiu-jitsu and try to keep it super simple. Like I'm a huge fan of the people you follow, like Henry Akins and things like that. Those guys are absolute monsters on the mat, right? And their jujitsu isn't really fancy. Like it's effective and it's pressure
Mhm.
related. But like, you know, learning from guys like that, learning from people who know more than you, and understanding that you have to be well rounded. Just like you said, oh, I'm going to carry a gun. I don't need to train. Well, that's just a stupid mindset. That's someone who's never experienced anything outside of I'm going to go to the indoor range and shoot from a gun that's not in my holster, and now I'm prepared, right? That's just that's just a dangerous mindset to have, and that's kind of where we try to just tell guys like you're more than likely to use your medical skills than you are your firearm, right? Like even as a law enforcement officer, right? So when's the last time you've done a practice tourniquet application? When's the last time you've even educated yourself on any pre-hospital intervention, right? Like, and when you ask those questions, it's gonna be like, well, we did it in service. Well, when was that? That was 8 months ago. or even if you had in service, right? And it's, well, 8 months ago is a long time to do a skill that you might have to utilize. That's a life and death skill. It's probably something you
Mhm.
should do more frequently, right? And so we at EFT, we actually started incorporating tourniquet applications, dry fire, um, some fine motor skill manipulation stuff where like you do a workout, you break down your gun, you put it back together, while your heart rate's up. And again, just kind of working those things. It's not some magic formula, but it gets those reps in under some type of physical distress, right? Like it's not like it doesn't mean you're going to be prepared for your violent encounter, right? Or your
Mhm.
incident. It just means that you're acclimating your body to doing something other than working out while working out, right? And so that's kind of the approach that we wanted, is just more of that well-rounded, being aware that the self-assessment obviously is huge, is recognizing your weaknesses and then just trying to find a plan that I think is what's the shortest pathway to get to progress, or the way to excellence, especially if you have 15 disciplines you need to be good at.
Mhm. There seems to be a disease, I think it's probably as old as mankind, where we look at like what you just said and we go, yeah, but what about? And like you can just always plug in a what about kind of a
Sure.
thing.
Like, oh,
This is
yeah.
a question. I just shared a little video yesterday of a dude that it's a 15-second video clip kind of mounted on a girl that's face down in the dirt.
I
She's
saw it. Yep.
11 years old. And so you guys listening or watching, you can go look it up. The guy's in Florida. The story that is put out is somebody's egging his apartment. He feels it's this girl, so he tackles her, pushes her down on the ground, and he's trying to take a photo of her. She's screaming help, and a neighbor films her, and eventually somebody comes up and stops him. So you look at the comment section of that, and it's the gamut of shoot him in the face, to my God, where are all the men at, to dig a hole, to get a wood chipper. And like, I guess this is where I'm going. You look at anything and you can say, like, what about this or what about that? But like, if I'm going to become a chef, I probably need to know how to wash dishes. I need to know how to communicate with other people. I need to know how to turn the lights on in the kitchen and clean the stove. It's not just about like pushing the plate of perfect food out onto the
Sure.
table for the Instagram post. And so like you can't just always think about the big game. We like to use what's important now. Coach Lou Holtz, what's important now,
Yeah.
like win. And you go even farther back, like what's my goal? What's my goal? Why am I doing this? What am I trying to get out of this? And I'm not sure. I've got a lot of time involved in government from a political standpoint. I'm not sure. You said the word excellence a minute ago. I think excellence is in short supply across the board. Maybe it always has been. I don't know about in the past, but it seems like we've cultivated a world uh, where it's easy to just do what's needed to get by and
Oh,
not
yeah.
the
Yeah.
the opposite.
Yeah. And I can't remember who said this, but it's not that difficult to be exceptional, right? Like
Hmm.
if you have the mindset of, I just want to be good at something, right? You dedicate 100 days to it, you're going to be good. Or you're going to be better than you probably think, and probably better than most people at that particular skill. Like let's say it's just jujitsu. You do a jujitsu for 100 days straight. You're at day 101. You're probably going to be a problem,
Yeah.
right? Like it's like
You're gonna be able to beat the hell out of the guy that you were 101 days ago.
exactly
Yeah.
right. And again, you think about 100 days, that's nothing, dude. Right? Like you think about 100 days, that's one third of a year, let's just say, okay, for the sake of simple math here. And you put in that effort and you're going to do great things. Now, if you can apply that to 5 different things in your life, and I'm not saying you have to spend 8 hours a day doing that for 100 days, but if you were to take 25 minutes a day and just work on your fitness for 100 days straight, you're going to be a different person at day 101. That's it. And now you might say, I feel better. I have more energy. I'm sleeping better. I'm having better relationships with people. You know what I mean? And it's not that difficult. And I think some people in their brain, one, this this damn thing is a problem, right? This cell phone
Yeah.
and Instagram is a problem. And I tell people all the time in the comment section when they get emotional on the internet, I'm like, my brother in Christ, just go outside and touch some grass, right? Like just go outside, get some sunlight, go for a walk, put your phone down, listen to some music, hug your wife, right? Like spend time with your kids, man. There's no need to get that worked up. If the goal is to be beneficial, right? And I'm kind of bringing it all back here. If like the goal is to be beneficial, do something good for 100 days, but also have the mindset of like, I don't want to just cloud my brain with just trash, because
Mm.
I think that's where the anxiety of I'm not going to be that good comes in, and all this other stuff. And it's just the self-doubt just kind of grows. And that's why I think when you get good at something, it's a confidence builder, right? And so between the cell phones and social media and all these other platforms out there, like, I mean, it's not like people ask me all the time, how did you grow Police Post? I just didn't stop. I didn't make a dollar off a Police Post for 7 years. Like I didn't make a dollar. Like, oh, and it's like, no, dude, I've never bought followers. I never had any sponsors. Like we're
Mhm.
just now getting into sponsors. Literally five profitable companies later, I'm just now getting into sponsors. And I'm still like, I don't want to be owned by someone else. I'd rather just do it myself for right now, because it also kind of distracts from the mission. So I say all that to say, like, do something for 100 days. If it's hard, good, but don't have to stress yourself. 25 minutes of fitness a day for 100 days, you're going to be a different person at day 101.
Do a little, a lot.
Do a little, a lot.
There's so many things that you can unpack in there. People chalk it up to mindset or habits, or it's it's all those things, right? Who is your father? Who's the people you surround
Sure.
yourself with? Who's the guys you work with? I'm to the point in my old age, and I'm being a smartass, but I've got zero interest in losers. Um, I mean, I'll talk to you, but I'm not going to sit at the table with you and listen to you complain. I'll check in on you and see how you're doing. But after like two times of you saying the same bullshit, I'm not going to waste my energy giving you like a, pat on the butt and, chin up, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh no, trust me. I've had to learn to kind of harden myself against people like that pretty quick. One, it's just distracting. Having kids, as you know, like I value my time. And so if you're not being beneficial to myself and or the conversation, then goodbye. Best of luck.
and
That's really
yeah,
it.
and it's back to what's important now, right?
Sure.
I got to have enough in the gas tank for my kids and wife and job. Of course, there's caveats. Got a friend that recently lost a child. 2 days in, I'm not going to be like, "What's your effing problem, man?"
Yeah, no,
Like
that,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
like, go ahead.
No. I was gonna say, yeah, I mean, there is a balance there of well, like one, like us as guys, like we're always busting each other's balls. Like, hey, like I know five fat people and you're four of them, right? Like that, like that meme is probably one of my favorite memes. And I said it
That's
to
a
like
good
we send
one.
it back to each other all the time,
That's a good.
and yeah, I think too, it's just like being understanding and being compassionate too, but also just being capable, I think is where a lot of people kind of get misconstrued. It's like you can be compassionate, you could be smart, and you could be beneficial. But again, like just like you said, like your friend, I mean, that's the worst. Like I don't think there's anything worse
Yeah,
than a child, right? And so like
no.
be- being compassionate to that, I think is extremely masculine. Um, and I think that that's kind of where we need to kind of push the boundaries again. And I'm just like you. I'm not really interested in talking to people who aren't interested in progress, right? Like I'm not saying being progressive and that whole sim. I meant just like trying to better themselves and or society. Like if you're not doing
Mhm.
one of those two things, I'm not really interested. We don't have anything in common. Hey, I have nothing against you. There's no emotional distress towards you. It's just I'm good.
As a young man, I remember seeing successful guys, and I was a pretty broken young individual. I remember communicating with some of them, and I didn't know how to ask them to help me. Um, so I just like wanted to like hang around dudes, and I remember seeing some guys older guys, mentor kind of guys like help, but then they pull away. And I didn't realize until later, like, oh, they're doing what I do now. They just, they were sick of me looking for some easy path through the forest. And,
Sure.
some of them showed me some stuff, but it's some of that stuff you have to compassion sometimes is saying, shut the fuck up, put your
Yeah.
running shoes on,
Right.
and let's go, or shut the fuck
Yeah.
up, let's go to the range, or shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like the guys that I started training jujitsu in the late '90s and got injured a few times, and my coach, good friend, shooting buddy Dan Hart, he owns
He's a
Hart
stud.
Jiu-Jitsu. What's
Yeah.
that?
Oh, he's an absolute stud.
Yeah, he's a great dude.
Yeah, for sure. That's
Years
awesome.
ago, I'm doing some shooting stuff with him, and he's like, "Man, you got to get back into jujitsu." I'm like, "Yeah," like come up with good excuses. At the same time, I'm doing a lot of striking stuff with a friend of mine, one of the original Army Combatives guys, Aaron Cooper. He's a total stud. Uh, and I'm like, yeah, like I'm doing stuff. We're training like 3-4 days a week doing striking, and so then I started to think, this is years ago. I'm like, maybe we can just do some private stuff. I don't need to show up to class. You could just do some private stuff and tune me up. And we did a little bit of that. And one day he's like, why don't you just shut up and show up? Was basically, like, just show up. Kind of like you said, 100 days or whatever, just show up. And that's kind of like our mantra as a group, like, just show up, just
Just
show up, just
just do the
show
damn
up.
work.
And
Yeah.
then you get around people like that, like, hey, Adam, where you at, man? I know, like, I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. Where are you at? You start like kind of looking out for your brother and sister like that. And that begets more of the same attitude, and you cultivate that in the people around you.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's the old adage of iron sharpens iron, right? Like it's that's so true. And one thing I talk about, again, like owning multiple companies and having multiple
We
things
get it. You're
to
super successful. We
yeah,
get
yeah,
it.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, but like right, yeah. But saying that is like I I make a lot of decisions a day and I don't always make the right one, right? But the good thing about it is I give so much credit to my team. Because without them, like I'm just a dude with a vision, basically. And there's maybe some type of implementation there, but it's probably I'm not as organized as I should be. I'm not a big SOP guy. But I
Mm,
have people that are now, right? I found some military guys basically that are it's that's kind of their whole MO. And so again, just like you said though, but having that reliance on your team or that person to again bust your balls, but in a positive light, right? And I think that's where I think that's what we need. I mean, I love poking fun at the guys. I'm like, hey man, you got your blue belt, and you just now you the fuck are you? Like, you know what
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean? It's like, yeah, dude, you were good. You had a lot of, and then again, they come back in the gym and they're like, oh, I got crushed again. I got just smashed. And I'm like, yeah, that's what happens when you don't show up for 300 days, right? When
Mhm.
like when you take a year off, dude, if you can't make it, go buy an instructional online, watch it 20 minutes a day, watch it 20 minutes a week. Get those mental reps in, right? So just again, always trying to improve each other. And I like how you said that, like just again, just come on. Like just let's get to work. What's your weakness? Let's work on it. Cause again, there's so much information out there on the internet. There's so much good information. Also, there's a lot of not so good information. And
Mhm.
I think the issue also lies, and I think, one of our responsibilities as instructors is to be able to provide that good information, but also allow people, because there's some people who just don't know what good information even is, right? Like they're new to shooting, right? And they're just like, oh, I'm just going to follow this guy because he was a former X, right? And he may not even be that good at shooting, right? He may not be the best instructor for someone who's new at shooting. They're going to follow him because of this. And it's like, well, maybe you should look at someone like this. And that's kind of where that guidance is. And I think, and there's actually a video you put out years ago, and I will never, and I'll actually probably quote it. You talked about interdigit response on a video.
Mm.
This was years ago because you talked about how like if you kind of squeeze your finger, all the other fingers start to move as well. Um, and you're like, yeah, you have to, actually get a solid grip. And I was a cop at the time you put this video out. So this was years ago. And I remember it was you because your voice is very recognizable. And
Chicago.
yeah, it is, yeah, straight Chicago. And I was like, you know what? I I took that advice, went to the range, and man, I started grouping better. Right. And it was
Good.
just one thing I took away from your video years ago, and it helped. Right. And so I was like, hey, but that's a super fundamental concept now. Like now that I've kind of progressed in my firearms journey, I'm like, hey, that makes perfect sense. And now you look at all these other competitive shooter guys and high level shooter guys, and they're telling you the same thing. You got to grip the gun like you mean it. Right. And so yeah, it kind of goes back to that. How do we disseminate good information from bad information? And of course, the internet's a very difficult place to do that, but I think that there's certain people that do a very good job of laying that foundational work for people that are new to this space or want to progress without being just overloaded with too much information.
It's so noisy.
It's so loud. It's just an echo chamber.
You just showed your phone a minute ago. This is a weird juxtaposition because here we are filming yet another podcast so that people can soak up more content. Years
Enjoy it.
ago, I was with Brian McKenzie, the author of The Art of Breath, and Rob Wilson. They were working together at the time, and they had created this program. It was like there was like 10 beta testers, and they asked me to come do it. We're this beautiful spot up in the hill countries of in the hill country of Texas. Basically, they were taxing you physically, emotionally, mentally, and trying to find your breaking point in various ways, and then helping you maintain composure and calm. We teach this stuff. That's how Brian and I and Rob know each other. So I was like, yeah, I want to come and see what you're doing. So one of the guys I meet there he's not the founder of CrossFit, but he's like one of the original gym owners in California, and he's got like 8 billion people. And we're having dinner, and I'm like, "Oh, what's your Instagram? I'll follow you and check it out." He's like, "I don't have any." "Oh, what's the gym's Instagram?" "It doesn't have any." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, man, like I shut it all off because I tell people this stuff's bad for your brain, and then we're like creating all this content. So I had to like practice what I preach. And I just told people, like, don't worry about posting anything for the gym and shut it all off." And if, I'm like, that's awesome. I don't have customers that give me their credit card every month for a membership at my gym to make a living. So like I have to generate an income through exposure unless I changed careers. But like, comment on that. How do you juggle that? You just admitted that this thing is the devil of
Sure.
sorts. It can also be amazing.
Sure. Yeah.
And then
I
you
mean,
and then you're pumping out shit every day through 5 different social
yeah.
media
Yeah.
feeds.
Yeah. I think that's actually a really good point. I always tell people it's a balance, right? So the content I put out is a balance. And we don't really mess around with our pages. Like we're not doing prank videos, we're not doing
Mhm.
the mindless content is kind of what I call it, like the unbeneficial content. We try to put out things that have some type of message usually with every single post. Um, the world we live in kind of conforming to the status quo of kind of what it is, but also just like the amount of it's just that I guess it depends on how you view it. I view it as a communication tool and a way to just basically broadcast information. We know that the mainstream media does a terrible job of utilizing facts and evidence to provide value. So we believe that we became somewhat of a trusted source to, let's just say, the law enforcement community for information and training. And so we look at it more as a training tool as opposed to Instagram for what Instagram really is, if that makes sense. Hence why we're actually trying to make our own. We're actually in the process of launching our own app for law enforcement only off of Police Post. So we're trying to build a community outside of social media that we own. We own the traffic, and that we're going to be able to host courses and discussion and forums and things like that on there. And so I would say that it depends on the person and how you perceive that information, how you use Instagram. Like my wife, for example, uh, well, I just hate ads, and I understand that ads exist for a reason, but man, she's a prime example, and she's very aware of that. She's like, "Oh, look, they're targeting me for looking up water bottles because I just bought a Stanley, right?" And now it's like, and she's like, "Ooh, this one is bigger and it fits in the cup holder better or whatever." Um, and it's just I feel like that you have to maintain that strong mindset of social media and taking it for what it is. Like I've met some incredible people. I've met you, I've met Andy Stumpf. Like I've met Andrew Huberman. Like multiple. I've talked to Joe Rogan in the messages. Like such an incredible network out there on social media, and I've utilized it for that. I personally was never really distracted for what Instagram truly was. I saw it as a tool, and I don't think I
Mm.
really know any other way other than like I do consume a lot of content on YouTube and Instagram and podcasts and things like that, but I don't utilize it for that. I utilize it for beneficial things. And I try to, and if I do catch myself scrolling, I'm like, stop, click it off, go outside, go play with your kids. And so I kind of have that self-regulation, I guess you could say.
How do you stop it? I have a way I do it, but I want to hear what you do. Do you just catch yourself and just say stop, or is there like do you all of a sudden realize, man, 10 minutes has gone by and I'm just doing nothing? Like what's the trigger?
So one, I do have a thing on my phone that'll tell me, hey, you spent 2 hours on social media. And some of that time is just me networking in the DMs. Um, but yeah, like sometimes I'll just be like, because I have a pretty full schedule and I have, I still try to train jujitsu, I still try to work out, spend time with the kids and do all this other stuff. And so like, yeah, like sometimes I've done it for so long. I have such a scheduled mindset that I'll just be like, okay, you're done. Like this is
So
not good. Now
discipline.
again, if I'm looking for some down regulation or just some mindless scrolling, sure, maybe I'll do it for, let's say, 25 minutes, probably top, like throughout the day, cumulative. And then again, I get back to I'll go sit on the couch with my wife and we'll just talk, right? Or we'll go outside and go for a walk. Like I'd much rather do those things than watch some kid prank a gang member about, having a bag of Cheetos in his bag and saying you want to get chipped or some shit. Like
Sure.
it's just there's so much content out there and some of it's great, but like, yeah, it's there for one thing. It's there for them to get monetized and then basically for them to make money. And I always remember that.
Hmm.
It kind of gets me like, well, that doesn't help me. Is it beneficial to me right now? No, it's not. So
That's a great way of looking at it. That's what I say. Is this helping me? Is what I'm doing helping me? And that's super subjective because helping me, like you said, could be making your brain go flat after a crazy day or
right.
just it, it's an easy trap. But I think it's no different than should I sit here or go to the gym? Should I sit here or do some push-ups? Should I eat this crap food or it takes the same discipline or um, I'm not disciplined in everything. I'm extremely disciplined in what I eat. I have been for most of my life.
Sure.
And it doesn't really take discipline to me because I don't want shit food because it's shit. So to me, it's not like, oh, a treat to eat McDonald's. It's like, no, that's like you're, you're going to make me feel like crap. So to me, that
Right,
doesn't take
right, right.
discipline. But like, I love beer. I don't abuse beer, but I like a couple beers. So for me, like to be disciplined with beer and be like, all right, I'm not going to have two beers or three beers or whatever. That is because I enjoy it. And there is no really good value like a nice meal. It's just, a good time or a
Sure,
pastime or whatever you want to call it, a mental relaxation tool.
sure.
Something like that requires discipline that like food doesn't. Or like I love getting beat up at jujitsu. If I'm in town, it doesn't. It's not like I better get up. Like yeah, I'm happy to go and roll around with my buddies, get all
Yeah,
sweaty.
yeah. No, it's the beneficial mindset. Again, it's not that difficult to be exceptional, right? Like putting down your phone and doing something productive for yourself, regardless of what that is exceptional, right? Like
Mm.
it's just like you said, the word exceptional is also subjective, right? Whether that's in business or your family life, your relationship with whomever that may be, whether that's God or your wife, your parents, whatever the case may be. Like you can be exceptional in different aspects of your life, and people ask me all the time, like, how do you balance work and family life and training on that stuff? And my I don't really have a great answer for that because I don't I'd be lying if I said, yeah, I balance because I definitely don't. I probably work 14 hours a day um, on average every day. I mean, I was on like after the twins were born, I was literally on a Zoom meeting as my wife was sleeping. And I was like, well, I'm sitting here doing, not being very beneficial. Like the babies are sleeping and she's resting and I'm just heavily caffeinated. I might as well work. Like, I mean, I don't know what else I would do,
And there's
right?
nothing wrong with that.
No, no. And I think that's where people like, oh, like you don't spend time with your family. I'm like, no, I do. I spend a lot. I mean, I travel from time to time, but like for the most part, I'm home. I have a lot of meetings from home. And I mean, I think people misunderstand like that balance is it's just such a seesaw for me. Like I don't really have a great answer of balance. Like I enjoy what I do. I love working. Like I don't even consider it work. I love what I do. So if I love what I do, I'm just like you said, I'm going to keep doing it.
Hmm.
And then when I don't like what I do, then I'll change it. Like, you
This is
know,
another one of those weird things, like that same mental retardation where we go, well, what about this? This is one of those same things. Like you get, if you don't work a lot, you're a bum. Oh, you work too much. You got to have work-life balance. Like
right,
can you stop telling me how to be? I was just yesterday had a very long work day, and I had this weird memory of being with a family friend's parents. The father was a sheriff's deputy. His name's Mike. He's a great dude. And I did a lot of work for him and his wife over the years. When I was still in construction, I'd maintain a bunch of their rental homes. And he and I were great friends. And one day I'm at their house and they were doing some kind of paperwork. And I'm watching them run around as they're trying to file taxes or some shit. And and I remember I said to him, I'm like, damn, you people work too much. And it's comical because as a cop, he owned like 10 rental houses. Him and his wife, she had a business. He had a couple gas stations, and now they're retired and they own nice things. And it's not just about stuff, but they're able to help their kids and grandkids and do those things. And at the time, I was in my 20s, and all I saw is like, sit down and pay attention to me. I'm over here visiting, like, and I didn't see like he's doing what you were doing. I got to get this stuff done.
sure.
We got this like disease where we have now vilified hard work.
Yeah, and I mean, not to really name drop, but when you look at high performing people, right? I'm talking dudes that are at the top of the food chain. Uh, so Andrew Huberman and I are friends. We started kind of chatting on Instagram. He reached out to me, said, "I love your page." Went out to LA to do a podcast. He let me stay at his house, like a phenomenal human being. But the first time I went out there, I didn't realize what a top performer looks like work ethic wise.
Mm.
The It's like an energy. It's just like a weird, like you just get around him and you're like, this dude is like, okay, I see why he has the number one podcast in health and wellness in the world. Like you just see it. Um, when I went out there the second time, he was writing his book. He had to go do a podcast. He had to go do this. He's on the phone nonstop. I mean, it was nonstop. And of course, like with the again, I'm East Coast, so the whole time thing really messes with me. And let's say I was up at 4:30 in the morning, and I went to go work out. He has a gym there, and I went to go work out, and he was up. He was up working, and then I guess he went back to sleep. Woke back up at I guess 8 o'clock his time. Went and worked out, and then just did it again. Repeat. Hey man, I had to go on a plane. I was on the Sean Ryan show. Do this, and it's just like you see this, and I'm like, I got back and I call my team. I go, we don't work. Like I just felt like I just saw another level of energy and commitment and drive, and it was really inspiring to me. Um, and it was really great to talk to him about that and just like hear his goals and hear his dreams and hear his aspirations of wanting to be a father and getting married and things like that. And but just I say like he truly loves what he does, and it was really good to kind of see behind the curtain of just him being a real person. Because like you see him on Instagram and you see on his
Mhm.
podcast and you see this and but man, just like people don't realize like, oh, he got this and he got that. I'm like, no, dude, he did that. Like nobody gave that to him. Like I had no investors. I'm not in debt. None of my companies are in debt, zero debt. And like people like, oh, he just got no, dude. Like before I made $1, I did something every day for 7 years before I made a penny. If anything, I'm probably still negative on my time, right?
Sure.
And but it's just something that I did, and it's because I just wanted to do it. And his job, his mission when he told me when I was recording in my closet out in Oakland or wherever, like not a very nice area of California, he's like, I just was recording in a closet with a microphone stacked on books. Like he wasn't given a studio, right?
Mhm.
Like, and so I think people don't understand it. And again, he has a great team behind him that helps drive that traffic. But again, just seeing someone that I can say from a personal standpoint, seeing what a high performer looks like that's mission driven is just it's insane. Like it's an unstoppable force. It's a feeling of energy that not many people get to experience and or even see. Like just being able to see it was incredible. Like how his mind worked, even just having a conversation with him, like you know, and I would say he's probably the most successful person that I've been able to have like that type of conversation with. Now, granted, I've talked to other business people and entrepreneurs that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and just hearing them speak, right? Like they are still solving the same problems that we're solving. They're just doing it on just a bigger
Yeah.
scale. So again, that just confirmed to me that hey, this is the path that they took. They've obviously made certain decisions that allowed for certain outcomes in their life, but like just like you said, like the the pathway to success isn't a difficult one. It's just one you have to persevere and just put in the work for. And I think a lot of people don't understand what that entails. And I think the the fear of failure and actually failing is probably uh the biggest factor for people not moving forward with certain things. Like I think jujitsu is a prime example. Like how many people get the purple belt? Not many. Why? Because it's fucking hard. Like it's like let's be real. Like the first 5 years of my jujitsu journey was just me dying. I mean, I still die. I just die less. Right?
Sure.
Like I'm not dying as much. Same thing with business. Like I'm at a point now where yes, I have some cushions. If we need to hire somebody, we can hire somebody. We need to get a new program, we get a new program. If it doesn't work, then we make that decision. We make educated guesses based on the experiences that we have and the knowledge we can gather. And so I think from a business and or life perspective, it's all about risk versus reward, but also enjoying the journey, enjoying the
Mm.
failures, and not being scared. Because I always tell guys like, "Oh, I'm thinking about leaving law enforcement to start my business." I get that DM all the time, and my number one question, I go, "What's worst case scenario?"
You go back to work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
duh. I was like, dude, you go to work at Costco for $70,000 a year with full benefits and stock options and good and I mean they have good like eyeglass discounts like if you wear glasses like I'm like
Right, right, right.
that's worst case scenario, dude. That's worst case scenario. So the risk that you're worried about is, oh, I can't pay the bill. That's bullshit. You have a skill set. You obviously were a cop, so obviously that means you have other skills available. Go do that. Take that risk, dude. Work that shift, maybe start a business on the side. I always tell guys all the time, like I just took a risk. That's all I did. I took risks in the past and they failed. I just took another one and this one happened to I made better decisions on this path. And that's
Every
it.
successful person I know will tell you they've lost way more than they've won.
I've lost a lot. I have hired people that have tried to destroy or move my mission. Um, And luckily for me, I had to learn the hard way. When I was first starting out, I didn't have the money to buy a good attorney to write operating agreements and contracts. That
Just
ended up
working with your homies kind of stuff.
exactly, and that kind of ended up biting me in the ass later on. Now I have multiple attorneys that anytime we get a contract from whether it's
I
just like
do you.
dude, yeah, it was. I mean, it's just like, hey, this is for your protection and mine. And most of the time, I've gotten very little pushback. I'm like, hey, look, read it. You send it to your legal counsel. We'll send it to ours, and we'll make it work, right? If you want this relationship to work, it'll work. And again, I have learned valuable lessons there. I've had friends deceive me, who hey man, I need a job, need some extra money. Hey dude, come on in, I can pay you this. Great. And then they stab me in the back. I recently had that one. Was not expecting it. Yeah, you go ahead.
Those aren't your friends.
Very true statement. Yeah, friends. I should have put it in
Sorry.
air quotes. Correct. Correct. I should have put in air quotes. It's just weird when they were your friend for multiple years, right? You brought them in and they asked for an opportunity. You give them an opportunity. You better their life, and then they kind of stab you in the back. And fun fact, I really wasn't. That had happened before. So the second time it happened again, I was a little more prepared. One, I was prepared legally, right?
That's a bummer.
Yeah. And so now I'm so much more objective in my viewpoint as it pertains to business. Now, I'm not like one of those cutthroat business dudes. I like being fair. Fair is kind of really how I do business. Hey, if you like it and I like it and we can be fair, then let's move forward from there. But I've always found it interesting, like when people ask me about certain dilemmas, the biggest question I get is, I'm thinking about leaving law enforcement, or I want to start a business while I'm a cop. How did you do it? What did you do? And I just told them, you just got to take the risk. And
Just
that's
start.
one.
Just start.
Just do the damn thing. like,
Yeah. I
like,
don't know how many guys I know, guys, gals, that have told me it won't work. The thing you're talking about won't work. And sometimes it didn't. But I'm reading a book right now about John Browning, which I don't like. It just so happens he's the most famous gun
sure,
creator. But the book is not. It's about the guns a little bit. But this dude, like talking about success, the author's talking about basically all day, every day in his head was spinning around the inner workings of machines. And then he would like get up and run to the workroom and start like filing on stuff and just making, he had to, like he just had to do it. And he became, massively wealthy and successful and changed the landscape of the planet by bringing stuff to fruition. He could have just been like, it won't work, and didn't do it. It's, um, entrepreneurism. Years ago, I was asked to go to the Kellogg School of Business Management at Northwestern. I've got no college degree and I don't even remember how the connection happened at the time, but a professor that I knew asked me to come there and work with this entrepreneur program. So these are like super smart kids in the master's program. And I'm like, yeah, it'd be cool. I'd love to come check this out. So I show up, and kind of like my role was like poke holes in their business plans. And it was rather funny because I've got no education and formally, other than a little bit of community college. And I'm like looking at this program and I'm listening to these kids, and I'm like, man, you can't bottle and teach this stuff. Like, okay, Adam, how are you going to fund the business? Well, I got a loan. Well, you've got no credit. Why would the bank give you any money? Or how are you going to pay? Or how are you going to get customers? Well, I'm going to market. All right. How are you going to market? Well, I've got this marketing plan. Cool. It's 200 grand. How are you going to pay for that? And just like, you know, great ideas, but not rooted in like I got to go dig some ditches first mentality and like get kicked in the dick a bunch mentality. Which I don't know
yeah,
if you don't have to lose to be successful, but it just
no.
seems like any story usually has some of these pitfalls.
Yeah, and you talk about the education piece. Like I was not a great student, not a great test taker. Pretty sure I have some form of dyslexia, speech impediment. Like, I mean, you name it. Like I was I tell my parents, I'm like, you guys spent so much money trying to fix my stutter, and yet it still exists. But I'll
I didn't
say
stutter.
I do. It's weird. I've gotten better about it. I've learned to kind of reset my brain and just kind of, there's a guy I follow on Instagram. I can't remember his name, but he talks about basically communication. And what's actually weird is when I was in the police academy, we had to do a scenario of domestic violence, and I'll get back to our point, but uh, I've always been really good at talking to people. And it's weird. And I don't know if it's because I've learned that I have to slow down, and I try to constantly tell myself, don't use filler words, pause, right?
Mm.
And I try to become the best communicator possible, because most of my job now is to have conversations with people like yourself, communicate, run meetings. And so communication is key there. And so it goes back to the education piece. I was never great in school. Um, I mean, yeah, I went to college. I switched my major 3 times. I was like, nope, biology didn't work. That shit's too hard. Uh, business calculus, like barely passed that shit. And I was like, I'll just do sociology with the criminal justice concentration, because that way I can do, at least I can graduate with, a 3 point something, and, potentially get a good job and kind of be a good applicant. So I ended up doing that. But my dad was an entrepreneur for 40 years. So I learned more from him. Um, and he sold industrial and commercial floor cleaning equipment. So it's not like we do anything very similar, but it was pretty impressive to see my dad, because English is his third language, and seeing him sell to people in America having English because he still has an accent today and just working nonstop, working long hours, stripping and waxing floors, the old Winn-Dixies and stuff like that here in the South. And, he used to do all that stuff. And, I, you know, I've learned a lot from him about being able to adapt and just drive and come up with these ideas. And I didn't learn any of that shit in school. Like entrepreneurship didn't really exist as a curriculum in any type of school, right? It was, here's your history, here's your English, here's your math. And then when I got to college, I was all like, I don't do anything really related to sociology now. Yes, maybe it, you know, grew my brain in some way, shape, or form, kind of helped me mold that. But like, you know, you being able to look at a problem and solve it and ask these difficult questions that need answers, that's really what makes people successful, I think. I mean,
Mhm.
I think unless you're, this is kind of my outlook now in college, unless you're going to be a doctor or an attorney or some type of skill like that requires high level education, like you really don't need college. I'd rather, like, for example, like if one of my kids like, hey dad, instead of going to college, I want to start a business. Like I'd rather give him money to do that than to go to college
Sure.
and see what happens there. One of my kids wants to be a cop. My middle child Levi, he's 3. He wants to be a police officer like daddy does, and I'm just like, okay, buddy. Like I'm never gonna tell you no, but we'll
The
see.
world needs cops.
The world needs good cops for sure. Highly
Every
trained.
dad, for the most part, tells his son not to do what he did. And it's, I mean, maybe not always, but you're the model he watched.
Yeah, they're watching you. I always say that phrase, and I always have to remind myself of that, because they, my kids aren't older. They're again 5, 3, and 1, and it's just crazy to see the things that they pick up on. Even when you don't think they're watching, they are watching. They see the food you eat. They see how you talk to your significant other. They see the clothes you wear. Um, I mean, I have videos of all my kids when they were, I mean, not even 1 yet in the gym with me crawling around. And now they're like, when they come to the gym, it's a positive place to be. And I want that to be that way for them their entire life so that when they have kids, God willing, they are able to pass on that positive relationship. Cause I think again, strong body, strong mind. I'm a huge supporter of that. And when they get hurt, like even now my 5-year-old gets hurt and I'm just like, you're good, brother. Back to work. Like it's just I don't make anything a big deal unless it is a big deal because I just feel like that's the problem today. Everybody makes everything a big deal these days. And it's like, oh, you fell down and scraped your knee. Too fucking bad, dude. Go play. Like I'm such a and that's how my dad was to me, right? So it's almost like I'm just dictating that. Again, he was a first generation immigrant and his dad was extremely hard on him. They were all farmers growing up. So there was no time to really be soft. It was just
Mhm.
do the damn work. Shit needs to get done. And if you can't do it, well then too bad. Go do it anyways. Like it was just like it's just the whole like perseverance side of accepting failure and just that path forward is what I again try to instill in myself. I have to constantly look in the mirror, but also remember that there are other people watching me in this house that I need to set that example for.
My lady was a kindergarten teacher for years, and she would try to impress on these young people because she was like the first teacher, right? Was grit. And that's like you can talk about it, you can write about it, you can read it, but I think you have to see it. And it's like everything we're talking about, if we have communities of people that are status quo, you're just going to have children seeing status quo, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
I,
you're
I
making
got to go ahead.
no, no,
You
I,
fill
no.
me.
I was just gonna say like I feel like society today is just making workers, not innovators, right? Like we're just here
Mhm.
to fill the cubicle per se, and I don't like that. I don't think it's good for society. I think we need innovation. We need those risk takers. Looking at again some of the most successful people in the world, regardless of their political view or stance or what they said, but like, for example, like Elon Musk, like what he's done with rockets. The fact that people call him stupid is just mind blowing to me. Like, oh, this
Mm.
dude's an idiot. And I'm like, is he? Is he an idiot?
Right.
Because I don't think he is personally, you know. I mean, same thing with Zuckerberg. Like, am I a huge fan of Zuckerberg? Not really. Sure, he got into jiu-jitsu, maybe that straightened him out a little bit, but like my page still got shut down, and the whole reason that thing even happened is still weird to me. It's like we still don't really know. It was a copyright
Let's talk
infringement.
about that for a second. So
Sure,
Police
of course.
Post, 680 some odd thousand followers on Instagram. It's just
Yeah.
one day you woke up and it was off.
Yeah, so it was like let's just say 5 days ago for the sake of conversation. 5 days ago, woke up 7 o'clock in the morning, and my phone just was going off nonstop. So I have a team that runs Police Post now, and JT, phenomenal dude, cop, great guy out of Maryland. He's like, dude, it's gone. He sends me a screenshot, and he's like, Police Post has been suspended for this type of violation, and we're like, okay, well, let's just learn more. Like, I honestly wasn't. I was preparing for this. I had been preparing for this for years because I know that I've always gotten multiple warnings and stuff. So I was like, and we have other platforms available. So I wasn't super that worried. I was just more like, why? Like, I want to know why all of a sudden today. So we got an email, and excuse me, it said it was a copyright infringement. And the
Hmm.
company that made the claim is a very large company. I mean, multi-$100 million company, and I actually had to sign a contract, so I can't actually publicly say what the company is, believe it or not. So this is where it gets kind of weird. Is it was almost like legal extortion. It was like, we own this video that, mind you, the video that we utilized we had used it for years. Like, I'm talking, we've posted it years ago, and
But they went and bought the rights to it.
they must have bought them years ago, or they must have
There's
bought
a
them
bunch of
recently.
companies that are doing that.
Yes. And so we found out is basically like, hey, you pay us this much money, and we'll write a letter to Meta stating that we've have come to terms, and they may or may not give you your account back. There's no guarantee, but you need to pay us this money. And we're like, so we just kind of waited a little bit. We sent it to our attorney. Obviously they sent us over all this paperwork. And at first I was like, is this a scam? Is this, we get scammed? And of course I have some friends that know some people over there at Meta, and we're able to make some type of communication to some pretty high ups there. And so we looked at the contract. Everything looked good, I guess you could say, as good as it could. And so we signed the contract, and literally within 30 seconds of digitally signing it, the account came back. Um, we don't know. The amount of money they asked for wasn't crazy. Like, it wasn't even, it was like a three-figure number. Like, it wasn't anything wild. And we basically were like, okay, what happened? And so what I've learned is, there are, just like you said, there are companies out there that'll buy the rights to these, but now they're using AI. There's got to be, this is just me now, just straight speculating. There's got to be some relationship with Meta where they're scanning, I believe it was like 10,000 videos a day, and they're finding 10,000 copyright violations a day, and they're sending out these letters basically saying, you have to owe us this money, you pay us this money, or you can delete it, or I guess depending on the video and views. And also, it's kind of a weird, it's probably like a weird uh, formula they utilize. But yeah, so that's what happened. And it was weird though, because as soon as we did that, we logged back in, we were able to get verified, which we've been trying to get verified forever. We were able to get verified in seconds, which has never happened. Uh, all of our restrictions have been lifted. Like, we weren't able to go live for like 300 days or some crazy number. We're now able to go live. Um, I don't know. Like, there's just so much, and I don't know if our account just got flagged and like, oh, this is a good account. And I know Zuckerberg's changed, quote unquote, his stance on some gun stuff and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was pretty frustrating there for a while. It was more frustrating than it was like, you know, anger. It was just more like why? Like, how did this happen? How can they do this? And like, the video it was a cell phone footage of a video of a cop jumping in the back of a car, asking someone for a ride on a foot pursuit, basically, is what it was. And we played the song, the Rick Ansley song, "Never Gonna Give You Up" in the background. It's a phenomenal song, right? Like, let's just be real here. And I was like, maybe Rick Ansley's copyright violation. That'd be awesome. That'd be the ultimate Rick roll, right? But no, it was just yeah, and that's what happened. And it's wild because we've been threatened for years with all types of reports and stuff. But luckily we got it back.
It's frustrating. I know a lot of people like talk about free speech and that it's a private platform. I I am quite disgusted though that you can open that feed up and see porn stars breastfeeding rubber dolls and you know just you
Yeah, literally.
name yeah you name whatever's out there and then it's like that or um, I shared a video a couple years or a couple months ago. There was a little bit of blood that was visible. It wasn't gruesome. It wasn't like horrific. And somebody must have complained or something, but they like, this was on YouTube. I got a strike. I've not had a strike in 10 years. And it was
Wow.
like totally, it was totally inside the guidelines. I like, we've always been careful to look at all that stuff. And I'm like, this is just dumb. Like the amount of work that you can invest into like following rules that are laid out by a business owner because these are businesses and it's that's the gamble, right, of investing all this energy. It's like farming on borrowed land that somebody can take back at any moment.
It is. And that's kind of where from a business perspective, I've tried to drive traffic to other platforms that we have control over. Like, growing an email list obviously is super important. Outside communication, we have our own app for EFC. We're building our own app for Police Post, our own little community there. So again, trying to rely less on those is kind of our, again, this is almost an eye-opening situation for us to, okay, we need to really get moving on this and put some energy to basically being able to continue our mission outside of social media. And so that's kind of where we've invested a lot of energy and time here in the past 30 days or so. Well, really for the past year, I guess I could say, because we were always preparing for the what if. Because again, what if like Instagram just goes away? And
Mm-hmm.
I know I know a lot of people who feed their kids off of Instagram, which please have a backup plan, because you're still relying on someone else's business to grow your business. So you said, like, word of mouth is super important. Having good sponsors is super important. Having good relationships. Again, I am extremely grateful for everyone that shared that video, because man, we got a phenomenal response from some, I mean, pretty incredible people in the community. Like some pretty big names were able to share that video and still drive traffic to our other platforms. So again, that does go to show you too, with all the negativity out there, like there are some phenomenal people that I've met because of social media. And if you look for the good in it, you'll find the good, right? If you just are scrolling, it's gonna just its goal is to keep you on the platform. That is the goal of social media. That's how they make money. And I always
Right.
had that you know, in the back of my mind. So again, if you utilize it for good, it will be good. If you utilize it for entertainment, it will be as entertaining as you want it to be, right? If you want to use it for evil, there's definitely evil out there as well. So, and which is also probably one of the most frustrating things. Like, oh, you can ban my account like this, but just like you said, you got fake dolls and breastfeeding and buttholes everywhere for $4.99 a
Mm,
month, right? And, I,
mm.
and I'm over here just trying to train cops, right? So it's like you're over here just trying to make people better and more prepared so they don't die. They're over here trying to get people addicted to maybe not even real people now with the whole like AI going on stuff, which is
Freaky,
the
actually.
crazy dude. There's this. I read something the other day about a guy. It's a guy who made an AI bot. He makes $1 million a year off a fake woman, which is crazy. He makes $85,000 a month off an AI woman. And what's crazy is these guys can send requests, and he can literally at just a blink of an eye just have everybody and they
So,
do
so
videos.
somebody's
Crazy.
like, "Show me your feet," and the AI bot shows you
Shows
fake
feet,
digital
while
feet.
someone else simultaneously might be asking for stick your hands in peanut butter or some weird shit.
Do you
And
happen
like,
to have this page so I can
yeah,
investigate
I'll
what you're talking
for
about?
research purposes. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm like, here, it's also frustrating. It's like, man, you got these people out there, and hey, you know what? As long as it's legal and you're within, you're following state laws, you may not be following God's law, but you're following state laws and stuff. Like, it's like, damn, dude, I'm over here trying to better society. Like, most of my friends are. We're over here, working our butts off to make a paycheck, and these chicks are like, yo, you want to see something nice for, $83,000 a month? It's like, shit. All right.
Bread and circuses, as it was
Man,
said.
that's right. And they will never
It's
revolt.
you can't fault people for.
No,
I mean, like I remember growing up, a lot of tradesmen in my family, good dudes that just wanted to come home, turn the game on, Al Bundy their hand into their pants, and n- not all not all people are created equal, and it's not a value thing. And it's the guy that comes home and plops on the couch and watches his dog running circles in the yard and has got a grin ear to ear every night. Is he doing anything wrong? Not at all.
no. He's just living his life the way he wants to.
Yeah.
I think that's great. And I think, again, I don't fault anybody for doing their own thing. I just think that, moral direction is super important. Being able to sleep at night, I think, is also super important. Hence why I try to do everything as fair as I possibly can. With the multiple companies that we have, like I've never had anyone really leave. Um, just because we always give them opportunities to grow and better themselves. And I don't actually ever cap anybody. That's actually one thing that I do in my business. I don't cap people. I don't say, hey, you're only going to be able to make this much money, or you're
Mhm.
able to only work this much. Like you have a skill set that you want to develop and grow into that position. Like prove it. Like you have to reapply for your job every year, right? So like not literally, but like you should want to do your job well, but you should also want to improve at doing your job because I mean, AI, for example, it's taking people's jobs. Like mid-level engineers in the IT space are now disappearing because AI can do it 24/7, 365 in 2 seconds, as opposed to 40 hours a week and needs a sick day. Right. I think,
Mhm.
I think one, it is scary. But it's the reality that we live in, right? It's just like as technology advances, people find ways to do things for cheaper and faster, and they're probably going to do it as long as it's relatively good. They're gonna move forward with it. Like I was on the Waste to Well website, just was like, hey, I just want to just look at how their AI new bot they just have, and it's weird. I would definitely recommend checking it out just from a standpoint of looking at what AI is capable of. But you're almost FaceTiming
What
with a
does it
person.
do?
So it's like it's just like a help bot. So like if you have a question about stem cells, let's just say you're like, hey, I have a hurt shoulder. My rotator cuffs injured. Looking at getting some, stem cells. Can you provide me information? And it'll have a conversation with you like we are having now. Like it'll have emotion. It'll have like interjections. It'll have funny little tidbits in there. Like it's weird because you start to feel like you're talking to someone. Um, Clearly it's not, but it's the conversation flows. Like it's not, here's the answer, yes, no. It's, Adam, I understand you're having issues with your shoulder. We have multiple options you can utilize. I know when I used to play baseball, my shoulder used to hurt too. And it's like, you never played fucking baseball. You know what I mean? But it's just like, it's just crazy though, where it's kind of going.
I have a friend that's a researcher from an ethics standpoint with this stuff, and he will send me screenshots of chats. He works for a government entity, and his purpose is to like find out how this stuff can be used unethically against mankind.
Sure.
And he's having this conversation with some chat bot. I don't know much about it. And he's asking it like, are you real? And it's like these kind of more like, I don't know, like ephemeral questions that are not, yes, no, black, white. And it responds like, what is real? And then it goes into this like very like spiritual. Like the last paragraph is like, perhaps one day you and I will be able to understand each other and connect on like a meaningful level that you and I can't understand right now. And who am I to tell you that that's not possible? And who are you to not accept where this might one day lead? And I'm like reading this like, shut it off.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
right,
I've seen
right.
Terminator.
Yeah,
No,
that's freaky.
it is scary. I was actually we were talking to my son last night. We were talking about like my son was talking about cell phones and stuff, and my wife were like, we didn't have cell phones whenever this was going on, and that wasn't even that long ago. I mean, I'm only 36, and it was it was crazy because he was just like, "What? You guys didn't have phones, like cell phones back then?" Or like, no. He's like, "What did you do?" And I looked at my wife. I was like, what did we do? I just went outside and played, like, and then we came home when we were hungry or mom yelled at us. Like it wasn't, but now it's just like everything is automated. It's really, from a business standpoint, it is nice, right? Like people want instantaneous feedback. They want that instant results, and AI is able to deliver, not only deliver, but learn. That's what's wild about it.
The flip side, though, is everybody has that too. So it's not just who's growing a better pumpkin patch or who's building a better house. You've now got this playing field where everybody, Instagram, right? Like you can build a business. I have built a nationwide business for free using social media platforms. So can everybody else. So it's,
Right.
yeah, it's an
Yeah.
interesting time.
What I mean? Like you did, like your YouTube channel's pretty soon. You have what, like close to 400,000 subscribers on YouTube?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's massively impressive. Like,
I don't know about that.
again, I don't think people realize too, like, and this is something I've also tried to learn too, is, celebrating your wins, however small they are sometimes. Um,
Mm.
because you always compare yourself to someone else. Oh, he has 1 million followers and my content's better and blah, 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 blah. Like
Why I
this
don't go
whole,
into locker rooms anymore.
yeah, same. Um, I'm like, yeah, well, I have 4 kids, so I know my shit works at least. That's usually my go-to now. Um, but yeah, it's just like, one of those things that people don't quite understand, that the amount of effort that goes into the social media stuff, especially in the past before AI even happened. And now that
Mm.
it's here, it's like all that work that we had done in the past where we were editing our own videos and we were cropping and we were color grading and we were, you know, setting up. Now it's just like, oh, I could just insert this into an app and it's prepared in 3 seconds. It's like, damn. And I look at a lot of the market of what certain large people in this like training space are asking for from their, you know, media team. And I was one really famous podcaster put out a job opportunity looking for a social media person. He wanted 150 pieces of content a month, and
Damn.
I'm thinking to myself, all right, I know how much I pay, I know how much I have 3 videographers and I have 4 editors, right, for just like in total, and I'm like, can you guys each put out 150 pieces of content? They're like, no. they're like they're like, if we have to shoot and edit, like we'd have to work 20 hours a day every single day to be able
Yeah.
to do that. And I'm like,
And I
well,
can put up a 5 minute, 10 minute video that might have 2 or 3 days of time in it.
exactly. And
Yeah.
luckily for me, I have one young, uh, just really motivated young man, and he's amazing at this stuff. He's 24 years old, and just the amount of information he has in his brain on the media side is crazy. But he was the one that was all like, I could probably do it if I could use AI. And I'm like, really? He's
Mm.
like, yeah, dude, I could. He's like, because I'm gonna start my podcast up back again here soon. And he goes, dude, I could edit your podcast. He's like, I could give you 70 clips in 10 minutes. And I'm like, what? He's like, he goes with B-roll. It's
The
crazy.
problem is that we're racing to a cliff because it just makes it's more dust in the storm
It is
whipping past everybody's faces. So quantity
over
over
quality.
quality.
Yeah.
My guy Drew, who will be editing this, invested thousands of hours into the YouTube channel over the years. I mean, he had like a command central. There was a computer just for that he built just for rendering, and we were filming things. There was no other gun content that I know of where people were filming with freaking high-speed cameras and
Sure.
badass 4K stuff. And Drew did all of that. I don't have any skills to do any of that. This is years ago. I mean, there were definitely all kinds of good people doing that. The point wasn't a pat on my back. It was all that effort and energy to create something that was a nice finished product, like movie quality, edited sound. We had multiple. He had sometimes 3 microphones on the range to make gunshots sound correct because the camera mics had clip and
Sure.
stuff. Spend weeks to edit something that could be a 30, 40-minute video. Now I can film some shit on my phone. I just did it the other day, filmed a little 2-minute clip, filmed myself talking to myself with the phone, edited it all while drinking a cup of coffee, sitting on the porch of a rental house in Arizona. I uploaded it. It got 1 million views on YouTube, 900 and some odd thousand views. Totally lapsed time, 30 minutes. And so part of that is that the end user doesn't care
Nope.
about the quality. And that's something like, okay, well, you adapt, but we've now, like, you watch an older movie. I just watched Open Range with
Okay. Yep.
who the hell's in it? Robert Duvall and uh, Kevin Costner. And
It's
it
a
was
great
like,
movie.
I didn't realize, like, oh, that movie's 20 something years old. But my brother was in the movie business, went to film school, and worked on movies like Transformers and stuff, and was into like real
That's
videography.
cool.
And I'm watching it, and this movie was before any AI, before, I don't watch a lot of movies, but I'm like, I forgot how cool it was to actually see a movie where like a lens is panning the mountains and it's not like made up. And then we watched something else where the opening sequence, it was like supposed to be in the Swiss Alps, and it would have been a drone shot, like flying through an open window, and you could see this is all just computer generated bullshit. Like none of it's real. And as a viewer, you accept it and just say, okay. But like it just looked like shit. It's
Right.
like it's not real. And I know it's not real. It's like you're feeding me something that you're telling me steak and it's rubber or something.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's to your point, that's so it is frustrating because again, like we spend a lot of time on our YouTube, especially on the combative side. Like that's where we put out a lot of content there. It's like you said, sometimes those 30, 45 second cell phone selfie videos, just I mean, hundreds of thousands of views, if not millions of views, as opposed to having a 30-minute curated YouTube video with edits and things like that. But again, that just goes to show you like people will spend so much time. There is a balance. There is a balance there of content flow, I believe. Just like you said, one valuable lesson that I learned back in the day was don't ever get married to content. Like don't be
Mm.
so invested in a video that you post and you're like, oh, this thing's gonna kill it. It crushes it and it gets like 300 likes. When on average you're used to like 7,000 likes, and you're like, I'm so mad right now. And it just discourages you from making more content. And that's where I think a lot of people feel like, oh, my video didn't hit and it's better than Grantham's or it's better than, whoever's latest gun video out there. And it's like, yeah, but look at how much content Grantham's put out. Let's just use him for example, right? Like I don't really follow him much of his stuff. But like he puts out a shit ton of content. He's everywhere. Every time I scroll my phone, he's everywhere. Right. And it's just like, but at some point, your company will become a media company, even if you're a training company. Like you're going to be, I mean, look at Black Rifle Coffee. They were selling coffee, but they're now a media company. Right. Um,
Fuck those guys.
oh, yeah. Yeah. Drink that coffee instead. You heard me. Um, and so, but, again, just from like a media perspective, like they, it's just about what you put out and the quality you put it out, but also the quantity. And that's where I think people don't realize how much time and energy it takes to get to almost 400,000 subscribers on YouTube. Like that's incredibly impressive. Incredibly
I appreciate
impressive.
you saying that. Most of that is in part to Drew's hard work for years, but I think the other side of that is what customer or follower or viewer or client do you want? It's very easy to just post clips of things Like, we teach people how to do this stuff. It can be sexy, like the old bumper sticker, cash, grass, or ass. Remember that bumper
Yeah.
sticker?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're not old enough, but your mustache says you are. But there
No,
is
I know.
there's
No,
no
actually,
right,
I'm
right?
not.
It's got to be sexy. It's got to be funny. It's got to be valuable, and value can be
Yep.
sexy and funny. Like, it's got to do something.
Sure.
And I don't want to just create stuff to entertain people. So the people that want to watch a 30-minute or hour-long video have to be invested in wanting to learn something. If you're just wanting to learn, like, how do I do a better Americana in 30 seconds, go, I don't do that. So, I mean, I do create some short stuff, but like, what is the end state? And for me,
Yeah.
it's not followers. It's not followers. It's generating information that helps people. And for me, that's not 20-second clips.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's also about the quality of your audience as well. Like, yeah, is it really easy to grow an account and get a lot of followers just by posting controversial topics? For sure. Like, you look at all the political pages, like, yeah, you can just, I mean, you could talk about anything controversy, in political conspiracy theory wise, and you're going to get a bunch of followers, right? Does it make you right or correct? Maybe, maybe not, right? That's not for me to decide. But I totally agree. Like the content, the digesting of the content. I actually put a story out yesterday. Like, one of the most not frustrating things, but like I was looking at it from the lens of how is the viewer going to digest this content that I'm going to.
Uh-oh. So you guys apologize. Our guest lost power at his office, so it's a little grainy, but we'll close her out. Sir, how do people find you, and what are the social media feeds? And if it's a copper, how do they get training with you?
Sure. First off, I appreciate the opportunity. Love the conversation. I contribute the power loss to us talking about meta and AI and basically exposing people. That's why this happened. They don't want us talking
Exactly.
about this information. Speaking of, you can go ahead and
Yes.
clip that part there for controversy and get a lot of views and clicks off that. So, so yeah, guys, you guys can follow Police Post. It's just Police Post on Instagram with the S at the end. EF Combatives on Instagram as well. We do also put out a lot of free
Echo
information. We have
Foxtrot
free training,
Combatives.
and guides. That's right. Echo Foxtrot Combatives. On the fitness side, effective.fitness training on Instagram. And we offer a lot of free programs and free information and blogs and things like that on there, guys. So you don't have to buy anything from us, but if you want a free pull-up push-up program or some body weight stuff, or you want to ask our coaches some questions, we have physical therapists, strength and conditioning coaches, a lot of tactical experience as well on that page too. So you guys can hit that up. Police Post app is coming out in the next, let's say, 60 days or so. July 1st is the projected launch date. It's going to be for verified law enforcement and or verified instructors only. So no, just uh, you know, no trying to minimize the garbage on the internet there. So it's going to be a professional platform where you online courses, free courses, communication, and things like that. So we do have in-person training at EF Combatives. Day instructor course, a day level 2 course, which is more.
Uh-oh. I lost him again. Son of a bitch. Well, you guys, I'm sorry. Our guest is in an area right now that's experiencing some power and internet issues. We'll put up the links to their sites, EF Combatives, EF Training, and Police Posts. This podcast brought to you by Ignis Lux Coffee. Ignis Lux Coffee. We produce this ourselves in-house. Ignis Lux is Latin for firelight. Let your light burn. If you guys dug this podcast, tell us what you dug about it. Share any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, and hope to see you guys again soon. Be well. Don't be dickheads. Tell somebody you love them. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Visit our website, carrytrainer.com, for information about classes held throughout the U.S., Carry Trainer apparel, and upcoming projects. You can also email us at training@carrytrainer.com for information about setting up your own private course or speaking engagement. Training@carrytrainer.com or carrytrainer.com.